Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of the Scratch the Track podcast presented by the Dude and Grim Show and co-produced by Mr. IVEST. I am the Dude.
And I am Grim, and today we are going to hang out with the Velvet Underground and maybe get a little loaded.
Just hammered, Grim.
Yep.
Hammered. Well,
1970 release.
Yes.
This is not the original, but it is also the standard.
It's the new original.
Now, one thing I will say about this is, as I read about it, apparently they cut that kind of more dreamy middle section out of Sweet Jane, and I think there was a part of Rock and Roll that they might have cut too when they originally released them, and I don't know if that was when they released them as singles or on the original cut of the album, but in this version they're full length songs.
Yeah, there has been, I think, a couple different versions out there, and I know that I'm pretty sure, I mean, it's been said that what they tried to do and what the record company wanted them to do, and the reason they called it Loaded was because the record company, they want it loaded with hits, apparently.
Yeah.
And so it can that would be Atlantic Records, which, I mean, name one record company that doesn't want an album loaded with hits.
Yeah.
But
especially a bigger label.
Yeah, exactly. But also some people have suggested that maybe it has a double meaning and it's like loaded with drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So drug addicted. I mean, yeah. I don't know if it was on this album or the previous album. That's the song Heroin was on, I think, which is a really good song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, this was, and maybe we'll talk about it a little more when we get to sort of the tracks, but there definitely were, it sounded like, some cuts to some songs, and that left Mr. Lou Reed not too happy. So this would be the final album featuring him, and he actually left the band before the album was even released.
Yeah,
so.
And I think not long after he departed, I mean, maybe they went on for a couple more years, I think, with mainly under Doug Yule being at the helm, but not long after that, the rest of them split too. And the Velvet Underground just kind of was no more until I think they had a reunion in the 90s. And
Probably.
When they had that reunion in the 90s, I believe John Cale was the original. Yeah, the original bassist and keyboard.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because John Cale was a founding member. And then I think it was before they recorded this album, Lou Reed basically said, they had tensions between them, and Lou Reed told the other members of the band that, hey, basically, if you don't fire him, then I'm walking. And so they ended up getting rid of him. They must have seen that.
Wow.
I mean, do you have a choice at that point? I mean, if Lou Reed was kind of like your sort of front man and writing most of the songs and the creative force, and you want the band to continue. There is and I haven't seen it. I don't know if you've seen it either. Apparently there is a documentary, I believe on Apple TV Plus, about the Velvet Underground. And so I wish I would have watched that before we talked about the album, just to get a little more history of the band, but I didn't have an extra 2 hours today. So
I didn't watch it either. One thing, though, that I think is interesting is the album did not do particularly well. In fact, I think it failed to chart at all when it was released, and nobody really cared about it. But as time's gone on, it's become very important to a lot of people. And when you look at all these reviews, I mean, 5-star, 5-star, 3-star out of 4, 4 stars, 10 out of 10 Pitchfork gives it. It's like nowadays it's seen as a really important record, which I kind of get because they were very much an avant-garde and experimental kind of group, as if you listen to any of their other releases you would have heard. But this was kind of, I mean, as we said, it was kind of them mixing some of those elements with more like straight ahead rock songs, kind of.
Yeah, it was interesting because this is the first time I'd heard this album in a long time. I mean, I remember picking it up on CD because I think I had heard and read about the Velvet Underground and everything.
Yeah, and then they re-released that really nice edition of it. Yeah, and I remember that CD too. It had the die cut. I mean, for a CD, it was really cool.
Yeah, with like the hologram and everything. Like it was pretty cool.
Oh, one thing I was going to say that I never noticed, but as I was reading about this and then I look at my copy of the record, there is actually a very significant typo in the album art that was never corrected.
Downtown.
Yeah, it says Dowtown. Or do
you think
there's just no N? That I can tell you. Because the smoke kind of covers the rest of the entirety of the word, but this just says Dowtown.
I wonder if that was done intentionally or it's just an error.
I don't know. It made it, I guess, as I read it, it made it sound as if it was an error and not an intentional thing. But I mean, the artwork is really cool, and I'm sure at that point there, we could change our names back to the regulars, but just leave
what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point?
Yeah. Well, I think you talked a little bit on sort of the, how certain songs were cut and everything. And yeah, once they were done, Lou Reed, first of all, he felt it was mixed wrong.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
quick way to ruin an album.
Yeah. I mean, he was pissed too, because he was like listed third in the credits. And like, how do you say, is it Yule or Yule? Yule?
I just said Yule, but
Yule.
Like
Yule
the
log.
Yule log. Yeah.
Not a log. I don't have a log, but, so, but then I think later as years went on, they kind of changed the credits, and Lou Reed, I think this was also maybe in the 90s when they were releasing special editions, and they gave him, more credit as the main songwriter. He was listed at the top of the band lineup, which probably makes sense because at that point his name meant a lot more. Like he had been a popular solo artist and everything. Yeah,
regardless of who started the band. I mean, and I think he was one of the founding members as well. But that's who you think of. Mm-hmm. I mean,
or Nico.
Or Nico.
Yeah.
Or Nico.
So,
yeah.
Or Nico. Yeah, it's a toss up. I mean, dude, it was the Velvet Underground and Nico.
Yeah.
And then they were just, then Nico was no more, I think. And then they just went to Velvet Underground. But also interesting too, Maureen Tucker, who was the drummer in the band, didn't even play on this album because she was pregnant. Like that's wild, man.
I know. And I think it always comes full circle, dude. But this brings us right back to what we were talking about with the with sort of the special edition that you had, which was the fully loaded edition as opposed to Peel Slowly and See. Which was, I guess, was a 5-disc box set. But
I don't have that.
No, but I do remember very fondly the CD that you had in getting into this album. And dude, we would completely be remiss if we didn't talk about what should have been Mo Tucker's only appearance on the album, and that is vocals for I'm Sticking With You.
I'm Sticking With You. I remember we were sitting in either one of our rooms, probably pie-eyed, and just like that song came on, and we were just like, "Whoa,
yeah.
what is this?
It's awesome. This
is something else."
And it's funny because I thought about that for some reason as I was listening to it, and it hit me that was like a special edition track, and unfortunately not included.
Yeah, it's like not on the album.
Yeah.
Well. You want to know what it actually reminds me of, and I was listening to this band today, was the White Stripes. And how Meg, she'll kind of have her songs, and they're kind of, just sort of silly songs. And it just really reminded me a lot of that.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think we would also be remiss if we didn't talk about the song Ocean. Which, was sort of John Cale's, one of his songs. And really, as far as I know, there is the demo of this song on the extended the fully loaded version that I have. So it was never actually, I don't think, put out as a Velvet Underground song that was, I guess what would you call it? Like a studio
single?
album.
Oh, it wasn't on? I thought it was on one of the early albums.
I don't think it was. I looked at their earlier albums and I couldn't see it on there. I could be wrong. It could be an oversight. But I believe this version was more of just a demo version. Now, many, 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 many years later, this would actually have relevance to us. because one of our favorite bands, one of the, currently residing in the Where Are They Now file, Ambulance Limited, we love their debut album and their EP, but on their debut album, the song Ocean, it's a Velvet Underground cover. It's the last track on the album, and we love that album.
Is that truly the last track on the album, or was that a bonus thrown in there?
Okay, that it could be wrong.
The version that I have has it as the last track, but I can't remember if it's.
I'm just looking at what's in my iTunes, and dude, if they don't like label it as like bonus track or something like that, you kind of just get a bunch of songs, so it's really hard to tell like where the album ends sometimes. Yeah. But also continuing even with Ambulance Limited, John Cale was working with I forget the lead singer or the main creative force in Ambulance Limited on their next album. He was producing it, and then I think the record company they were with went bankrupt, and so now it's the album just is kind of lost in the rings of Saturn from what I hear.
It is a bonus track, dude. That is the US bonus track. Not to be confused with the UK bonus track, which is straight A's, also residing on their EP. Now, I didn't realize that this album was actually called LP, but
yeah. Because I think their other album was called EP, wasn't it?
The New English EP.
The New English EP. That's right. The New English EP. Yeah, which is really good. Which also has a Pink Floyd cover of what's that song?
Fearless, dude.
It's off Metal.
Fearless. Great song.
Anyways, this is a Velvet Underground episode, not an Ambulance Limited episode, but we might get into that someday.
Who knows? Boy, it'd be really cool if they put that out on vinyl. But in the meantime, so they recorded it like one thing we were talking about offline that you brought up that was interesting is that the sound of the album is still like a little raw ish. It's kind of raw, which is interesting because they recorded it at Atlantic Studios in New York, and there's a nice picture on the back of the record, and I believe it's Doug Yule who is sitting in there playing piano, and you're looking out at him from the control room. And it looks like, no doubt, a very proper studio. So, which is interesting because that would lead one to believe that they still kind of wanted like a certain amount of rawness about the sound. And that's one thing that I really like. I mean, I love the tracks Who Loves the Sun and Sweet Jane, but to me, like Rock and Roll, that really is like the perfect sound. And to me is like the sound of this album.
Yeah, I agree, my friend. I agree. Do you want to get into the tracks, my friend?
Yeah, and while we're there, I mean, because you don't want to miss anything on the tracks, so please go ahead and do us a favor.
Like, subscribe, and comment below.
That would ensure that you don't miss a beat, just like we won't.
For this next episode. So just chill to the next episode. All right. Track number 1, side 1. Who Loves the Sun? It's funny, man, because I remember getting the CD and putting this on and not really knowing what to expect. And as soon as you have a song called Who Loves the Sun, and that, dude, just the title itself is
it's
like
very psychedelic.
Pop psychedelic for the time, right?
Yeah, which it is, I think.
Yeah. Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, it's about the sun. It's got all this, they're just lyrics referring just to nature.
Yeah.
The ba ba ba, like the little background harmonies and vocals and stuff.
It has all the right elements. Yeah, I agree.
It does. Now, here's the thing. Yule sings like 4 tracks on the album, and this is the first one. He gets the first track.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was him or Sterling Morrison.
Okay.
Now, one thing I wanted to ask before we go even farther into the tracks is, as we look at the band members' names that we're recording at this time. So if you didn't know that said person was in the Velvet Underground, and I said to you, what do you think the person named Sterling Morrison did for their career in their life, would you have said a musician that is in a avant-garde rock band, or would you have said maybe a NASCAR driver? Because to me, that name just sounds like a NASCAR driver. I don't know why.
I think there was a NASCAR driver named Sterling Marlin.
Oh yeah, that has to be why I
I'm pretty sure
made that association. And then Mo Tucker. I mean, that's great. You're probably driving at Monster Jam with a name like Mo Tucker.
A pickup truck.
Yeah.
I feel like. Yeah. But yeah, Doug Yuley sings lyrics on this song. And now they give him credit, and we'll get to each one for four total songs. But there's one song where I think they didn't give him credit. And I was like, man, sounds like him. Because you can kind of tell the difference between him and Lou Reed. And I don't know if you want to move on to, maybe we just move on to Sweet Jane right now. I have to get to it.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. It's on the second side.
Okay.
Second side.
Well, I'd say that Velvet Underground's biggest, I mean, if you can call it a hit, but this, and had this charted, I think this certainly would have been the biggest hit on the album, and that's Sweet Jane.
Yeah.
Been covered by a lot of people too. I actually, I don't know if you know of a little group called Mott the Hoople, most known for an excellent song that was written for them by David Bowie called All the Young Dudes.
Wow.
Awesome song. No. But on that All the Young Dudes record, which I have, they do a cover of Sweet Jane. And I think they're among a long list of people who have covered this song.
There's now that you say it, there's another band or musician that was pretty prominent, and where they did a cover of it, and I obviously that escapes me at the moment. But this song, I think I knew of this song before I got the album. And
so that was kind of the catalyst,
which might have been the reason why I just chose this one, or I just chose it because I was like, yeah, the cover looks pretty cool. So
yeah,
I will judge albums by their cover, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. So
well, especially when they made that box set the double disc set you got. I mean, that's
yeah. But so I mean, the way this song starts is so funny. It's got this real Eastern feel intro, right? But then the guitar comes in, it's really crisp. The way Lou Reed, I don't even want to say sings, he sings,
like his cadence,
he speaks.
Yeah, his cadence.
He speaks lyrics
kind of Dylan-esque in a lot of ways.
Sure. I could see that. Yeah. And yeah, it's so, I mean, there is definitely a contrast between the two and when they sing. But I guess even going into it, maybe I just never thought about it and was like, oh yeah, I just assumed Lou Reed sang all the songs and he just changed up his voice and his vocals. But I guess it makes sense now that, a bunch of the songs were not sung by Lou Reed. So,
but Sweet Jane was correct. Okay.
Yeah. But Who Loves the Sun was
correct.
So
correct. Yeah. And, we said before, which is interesting that they cut that little bridge section out. And I'm like, really, if you made it this far in the song, you're going to turn it off because that came on? It lasts for if you look at...
it's right at the end, and it's not very long.
And if you look at the original pressing at 39:48 and the full length at 40:35, I mean, that's not even a minute.
Yeah.
That they,
I think they just really were like, hey, if we take out these 15 seconds,
that's going to do it. Yeah.
Didn't. But I guess move on to track number 3. And dude, this first side of the album is insane.
Well,
I really,
some
really
people
like
had said that, that they would, I can't remember who said it, but some, music historian or whatever said that they considered this 3-song run at the beginning album one of the greatest opening runs of songs in any album, which I can't disagree with that. It's awesome.
No. I mean, hey, for me, I actually got to make it 4 because Cool It Down is one.
Agreed. But for some reason they they labeled it as
left
3.
it at 3.
So rock and roll. I think, and I didn't, sit down with a guitar and hash it out, but I'm quite sure that this is actually in drop D tuning because that low that low end kind of just carries it through almost like a drone, and they kind of sprinkle the chords on top as they like descend down, and it's got such a warmth to it because I think it's being done on an acoustic and electric simultaneously. And so it adds this really interesting warmth, and that particular sound was the one that really got me.
Really got you going.
So it is my favorite one. I mean, we'll probably rehash this at the end, but
yeah, it's listening to it this time, just this album as a whole, not a whole like I think it's a great collection of songs. But when I started thinking about like instrumentation and everything, there's nothing that like really stood out to me. Like there's not like these flashy solos or anything like that. There's just I don't know. It's just they're just good kind of all around songs.
Well, and one thing you won't hear is any blues riffs, and I believe they had this. I don't know if it was just a spoken or an unspoken rule in the Velvet Underground that was like no blues riffs, which seems kind of weird, but it really doesn't when you think that that's what everybody else was doing. And I think a lot of people, because of that, have cited them as what they would consider one of the first kind of proto-punk bands in a way, because they were going so much upstream against the mold that was at the time.
Yeah. I could definitely say. I mean, if you think about the top band, I mean, obviously you had bands like the Stones, but this is 1970. So, and it was
Led
interesting
Zeppelin.
when we did our 60s list. I hadn't realized like the first two Led Zeppelin albums
were in the 60s.
Came out before. Yeah.
I know it.
So definitely like blues was in the.
And even the Beatles. I mean, like everybody.
Yeah, even the Beatles for sure. It was definitely in. I don't know, the sound in hits in the hits.
In the hits. So I think that's an interesting thing. But anyways, Cool It Down.
Cool It Down. Yeah, dude. I don't know, man. I've always liked this song.
I know the way it comes in with that kind of odd chromatic vocal line.
Yeah.
Somebody took the papers.
Somebody took the paper. Yeah. But I will say, man, I started looking at the lyrics, and part of me was like, is this song about a prostitute?
Oh, I could see that.
Because it's like, what did you say? Because she's got the power to love me by the hour. And then it's like, what is it? If you want it so fast, now look a lot, baby. Don't you want it to last?
Yeah.
Kind of like, you want it to last, so you better.
But of course,
cool it down.
It makes no difference to me.
Yeah, exactly. You get one shot.
Yeah,
that's it. You get one shot, bro.
Yeah.
So, anyways, track number 5, New Age. Now, this is another one. This is a Yule song.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if the picture on the album of him playing the piano in the studio is doing the part for this.
That would make a lot of sense.
But this is an interesting one too, because it's talking about like this aging actress who sounds like her life is in a bad spot. Like, can I have your autograph? He said to the fat blonde actress.
Yeah. It seems like the glory days have kind of passed her by, and so hey. It sounds like they enjoyed it while the getting was good, but now it's like, you're not the new on the scene. You're not hot on the scene.
Yeah.
Like time caught up to you a little bit.
And the song does start out incredibly slow, but I think by the end really, really picks up in a pretty good way when they get into that something's got a hold on me part, and it starts to rock a little more, because I'm sure after hearing those first 4, and then that, you're like, oh man, okay, well, I figured this would happen at some point.
Yeah, right.
You need those ebbs and flows a little bit.
You do.
Dynamics. But it picks up right in time to flip it.
Flip it, grip it, and flip it. Yeah, I will say that the album does start to feel different with track 5 on New Age, but I feel like it takes on a whole, like, a whole different sound on this side too.
Yeah.
With head
held high. Now, if you want to talk about them as a proto-punk band, this to me is the song.
It's much grittier, right?
Yeah,
and the vocals are gritty. I mean, it's just, it has that sort of a guttural sound a little bit.
Yeah, it certainly does.
Yeah.
But I always like this one too, because it, especially coming off of New Age, I mean, it kicks right in.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. It definitely does. And now it's not, I think, like, even at the end, like, there's not a lot of soloing on this album.
Yeah.
Like there's like, I forget what song it was earlier. Maybe it was Cool It Down, or no, it wasn't Cool It Down. Maybe it was even a Rock and Roll. Like towards the end of the song, there's just like this, it's almost just like this short little riff. Like you couldn't even call it a solo.
Yeah, I know what you mean. As the song's starting to fade. I mean, it's a little bit of a solo. It's
but it's like, hey, we're gonna wait right till the end.
Yeah,
and
but I know what you mean.
Wonders,
it's not like
cut that?
The flashy. So, which I think is kind of cool though, because it again, it fits them. It wouldn't have fit what was the norm, but it fits them.
Yeah.
And in a way, I mean, as cool as guitar solos are, it kind of becomes a thing.
Sure. And then you're like, oh, well, we're just going to do this on every song.
Yeah. Oh, where's the part with the guitar solo?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just about the riff, man.
Leave a hole.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, sometimes the best note you can play is a rest. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, next track, dude.
Lonesome.
The name of this, Lonesome Cowboy Bill.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to be honest, I kind of prefer Cowboy Dan.
Oh, yeah.
But,
so when we do it, songs of the same theme, I'm sure these two will face off.
In year 17 of the podcast.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get some hits on that one. The covers face off still just really didn't.
We had a couple good ones.
Yeah.
They get a lot of downloads on the audio side.
Now, here's a little question for you. We had an icebreaker at a meeting the other day, and the icebreaker was, what is your favorite cover of a popular song? That was what somebody asked as the icebreaker.
That's great.
So what's yours? I know this is a little diversion, but that's what the Dude and Grim show is all about.
I mean, it's got to be All Along the Watchtower.
That's exactly what I picked. There's no question.
And I'm not talking about the Dave Matthews cover.
And I listened to some of these other folks, and they said some stuff that was this and this and this, and I was like, man, what do you guys listen to?
Not our podcast, that's for sure. Well, you should have just sent out links to everyone.
Yeah, or just shown the picture
yours.
of the Doors and John Lee Hooker with 8 views for 6 months.
It was like 16.
Yeah.
But better.
So Lonesome Cowboy Bill, I do like it because it's weird. It kind of takes what you would think of as, not to use air quotes, but to use air quotes, like a cowboy kind of sound and electrifies it a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it does. And it just sort of tells this, I don't know, a little story of Cowboy Bill. It does. I think that's all I really had to say about that one.
Okay. All right.
But, actually, I think to this point in the album, I felt like it was like the most upbeat song.
Because it's almost kind of silly. It does have that bit of lighthearted quality for sure. It
does. Track number 3, side 2. I found a reason.
It's a track number 8.
Not how he sings it, but it's a track number 8. Yeah. Dude. So one thing I do like is the they do some cool stuff with like the vocals, and it has this like the sort of a dreamy vocal layering on the track, and you can tell it's sort of like a heartfelt song, and it has like a sort of like a almost like a slow like soul mood to it. I don't know, there's something about it where I feel like that was kind of
It does, and it definitely stands out, I think, on its own with that. Because Nothing Else, to me, even though Oh Sweet Nuthin' is a slower song too, it doesn't have sort of that element that you're talking about.
Yeah. Probably wouldn't release it as a single.
No, and I don't think that was. Oh, that was the lead single.
Are you serious?
No. Yeah, it was that, Oh Sweet Nuthin' and New Age were the singles. I don't understand why it didn't chart.
Man, they really should have done Train Around the Bend.
Dude, I really like this song.
So it's interesting because like it's got some of these like squealing sort of guitar sounds and
very heavy on the tremolo. They're kind of you know,
sure.
which,
okay, is that
my guess
like
would
be
my guess would be they just turned up the vibrato on the amps all the way, but used it
to 11.
It used it in advantage with like where it goes with the drum beat kind of, because you know this is obviously before like beats and MIDI existed, so you just relied on the tempo of the drummer. Maybe there was a click track if you were really
right.
And the click track at that point probably, well, maybe by that time they had electric metronomes, but it literally would have been one of those old wind-up metronomes. It's
Yeah, I gotcha. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this song I felt like it kind of features the electric guitar like the most of any song on the album. I think.
Yeah, and like you said, in a unique way. Just, you don't get that sound. And I think the lyrics are also kind of funny because, you know, the band came out of New York City, which I'm assuming is where they resided for many years. And I don't know if Lou Reed was from New York originally, but he's singing it in this way where it's like he spent time in the country and he's like, dude, I am done with this shit. Can we go back to, you know?
I am out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's time.
So I just, what does he say? Like, I'm sick of trees. Take me to the city and train going around the bend. I don't know. It's funny.
It's like, take me to Greenwich Village, man.
Yeah.
Let's hang out. Smoke the peace pipe. All right. Track number 5. Oh,
Sweet Nuthin'.
This is another Yule song.
Yeah. But for some reason, the way he sings it, sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there, but like the delivery and the way he sings it is kind of Lou Reed-esque. Like his delivery in my mind.
So, dude, the when I was listening to it, I was like, gosh, man, it kind of reminds me of, I couldn't think of a song necessarily, but I was like, what band does it sort of sound like? Go ahead.
No, I have my guess.
Okay. So I was actually thinking a more simplistic Allman Brothers.
Oh, okay. To me, the chord progression and the way it goes reminds me a lot of Marshall Tucker Band, Can't You See? What that woman?
Yeah.
You know, but dude, very much in the vein with Allman. I mean, the you know, Southern rock kind of.
Yes. Yeah. It's the Southern rock. I think that's kind of because even there was like some, I know this will sound weird. Almost like felt like Leonard Skinner a little bit. I mean, without the heaviness and stuff, but like I was just like,
dueling
it has
guitar solos.
Yeah. Yes. Freebird. It has definitely, that Southern rock feel.
Yeah, and I don't know why, because it really shouldn't, but it's something about that progression, because for me, I can't hear that progression the way those little licks they throw in there are without thinking about the Marshall Tucker Band song.
Yep. That's right. All right, Grim. Ready to scratch. I think we know your favorite track sounds like it's rock and roll.
Yeah, dude, rock and roll. What's yours?
Yeah, I'll probably go classic and just go Sweet Jane. But dude, I mean, I love rock and roll too, man. Like those are they're pretty neck and neck.
Yeah, and I think we may have to edit the Wikipedia article where they talk about the opening trifecta of songs, and we'll just edit that. Yeah, quadfecta.
Quad, something like that.
Yeah.
All right. What are you scratching and what are you scratching with? Something loaded, maybe like a gun or a needle. Syringe.
Probably a syringe, because I feel like a gun would make too big of a hole. It might like go into the other tracks, unless it's a 22. I would have to scratch I Found a Reason.
Okay.
It's just and your points about the song are certainly well taken, but it's just like all the other ones. I think "Oh Sweet Nuthin" is a good end to the album, especially after Train Coming Around the Bend. But that's the one. And it was, to me, it's between that and New Age, but New Age picks up so much in the end. And I really love the bit where he gets into "I'll come running to you, honey, if you want me."
Yeah.
Like, so that's my rationale.
I gotcha. So I'm gonna go with Lonesome Cowboy Bill.
Oh,
I just, to be honest, like it's cool, like it's thematic, and I get it, sort of like it's almost like a genre song a little bit.
But there's nothing else on the album that it remotely reflects said genre.
Yeah, and to me, it just kind of doesn't go anywhere or say anything. And
well, he loved to rodeo. It does say that. It's just he loved to rodeo.
Rodeo. And yodel, doesn't he say that?
Yodel,
yeah. But yeah, there's no real transitions in it. It just kind of, it just kind of stays on the straight and narrow. And I'm just like, okay. It just, I don't know. It just doesn't do a whole lot for me. So I'd have to go with that one.
Okay. Well, we won't be going into OT.
No.
And that's okay.
Capitals from York. No.
But I guess I would encourage anyone who either hasn't listened to a lot of the Velvet Underground. I feel like this is a pretty good way in if you haven't, and you're not like super into kind of avant-garde experimental rock. Because this is something relatable to start with. So this is also we used to do this episode called "Where Do I Start?" So the answer for the Velvet Underground is you start here with Loaded.
Yeah, maybe just go backwards.
And the misspelled album cover.
Exactly that. All right. Well, if you are fans of this record and you do know it, you can tell us how crazy you are for scratching Lonesome Cowboy Bill and I Found a Reason, and you can also let us know what track you would scratch, because there's one. That's
always if it's one of those first four, that's going to be an interesting exchange. But if not,
I got it.
Well, even if we'd like to know what it is and why.
Like, subscribe, and comment below.
We would, exactly. We would like to know. It's time to go. Thank you.
Scratch Your Track is produced by the Dude and Grim. Additional music provided by More. That's ... MORE. And the Tims. TIMNZ. Copyright 2020. The Dude and Grim Show.